Stop fucking around. Get up. Look at this. I'm rich. It's payday, fellas. I said it's fucking payday, motherfucker.
Fuck me.
Damn. This one's gonna be hard to talk about. Payday 2 is one of my favorite all-time games. Some of my best memories playing games come from dual-wielding SMGs, mowing down waves of SWAT teams, and listening to one of the best soundtracks in all of gaming. The amount of customization this game allowed for, not only your mask, but your skills, your guns, and the many characters there were to choose from, made every player's setup unique and allowed players to strategically build their perfect heister. This is something I leaned into heavily, from making juggernauts with heavy armor, dual-wield weapons, and a saw blade, to making stealth-based thieves with no armor, silenced pistols, and throwing cards. After hours of grinding Payday 2, I was hyped when Payday 3 was announced, and downloaded it the second it released. And when it released, well, we all know how that launch went. I couldn't even play the game on release. Linking my account and signing the terms and agreements was so bugged out that I had to wait at least a day before actually getting into the game itself, just to find out there's no single player mode. Now, I know and agree, Payday is at its best when playing online with friends, but really, no offline mode? Releasing with no single player mode was a crazy decision, considering many of the fans of the series enjoyed playing through the heist the stealthy way by themselves, as it is near impossible to do so online with randoms. To give Starbreeze Studios credit, an offline mode for Payday 3 did just release a couple weeks ago. However, this comes more than 7 months after the game's release. And guess what? You still have to be online to play the offline mode. But it will be nice to finally have the option to queue solo missions when I want to. Both the previous Paydays supported offline play, and Payday 3's decision to omit this definitely rubbed players the wrong way. When it released, it was instantly a step behind its predecessors. Moving on, once I finally was able to get into the game, I played through a few heists and started to notice something. The amount of variation I saw in players' guns, outfits, and mask was near zero. The weapons available were level locked, which is fine, but after doing 10 plus heists, only having one new secondary, one new primary, and a suit that half the players in the game have, felt, well, off. So I looked down the weapon, mask, and outfit shops to see what I could hope for once I had the levels to gain such items. Nothing great, until I checked the currency vendor, and instantly realized why everything looked so bland. There is a premium currency called C-Stacks that, while you can purchase with in-game money at a horrible, time-limited exchange rate, is needed to buy anything unique or sometimes even useful, therefore locking most of the content away from casual players, and making these outfits/weapons only available to those who pay or put in a ridiculous amount of time. The game does have its redeeming qualities, the gameplay has been improved, most missions have very in-depth and fun stealth options, and all the new heists are really cool. But it lacks so much from its predecessor. The heist map, the guns, the mask, the amount of content and variety. Put simply, Payday 3 just doesn't feel anything like Payday 2. It feels like a bad port, or like it was developed by a completely different studio. Looking at what other players' grievances with the game were, it seems like the main issue is the content in the game. It lacks any replayability, and has no server browser. After playing through the heist in Payday 3 a couple times on different difficulties, there's basically nothing to do aside from grind challenges, which was not the case with Payday 2. All the skins in Payday 3 look the same, most are recolors, and the weapons are not near as varied and customizable as the previous Payday had. For Payday 2, there were always new maps coming out, different skills to spec, Jobs coming and going in and out of the heist map all the time. It felt like there was so much more content than there was. With Payday 3, it feels the opposite. There is some content, but you wouldn't get that from playing it without buying the premium currency. Additionally, it doesn't allow for people to search for the types of lobbies they want to play, like the heist map did in Payday 2. Instead, you just pick a heist in difficulty and randomly queue into a group. If players want to go for a loud, guns blazing approach, or the stealthy, no alarm strat, there is no way to queue for this. Your fate is just left to the matchmaking gods. Other features absent in Payday 3 that were in Payday 2 include the pre-planning phase, which added variety and replayability to each heist. Payday 3 also lacks the ability to kick players from a lobby, which is just necessary in any multiplayer game like this. And in general, Payday 3 just lacked so much content that Payday 2 had. Looking at the numbers, Payday 2 released with 12 heists, and now has over 70 unique heist locations. Payday 3 released with 8 maps, and now has 12 now that 4 have been added in the DLC. This alone shows the stark contrast in the overall content each game provides. I cannot believe that Payday 3 was being worked on for 7 years before it came out, and still released with multiple bugs and much less substance than its predecessor. Now, to be fair, yes, in 2019, Starbreeze Studios was losing a lot of money. They had to sell off an entire studio and lay off a fourth of their employees. That being said, in 2021, Starbreeze was back in financial good standing and returned to developing Payday 3. If we assume no progress was made from 2019 to 2021, meaning that the game was only really being developed, or at least worked on, from 2016 to 2019, and again from 2021 to 2023, that means the game was being developed for 5 years. And it's still released with a super buggy launch and severely limited content. As we've discussed, the lack of so many gameplay mechanics and just general quality of life features that were in Payday 2 but not in this newest edition put Payday 3 so far behind. That, coupled with a terrible launch, led to an average game with a below average player base. Looking at the performance of these two games, it is obvious the one that players preferred, and I believe I've showcased many of the reasons why. Starbreeze themselves have admitted that Payday 3 has been massively underperforming. Its player count is abysmal when compared to Payday 2, which released a whole 10 years before it. As for why this game failed and released with so much less content than Payday 2, I can think of a few reasons. Perhaps there were problems in development, given the financial issues Starbreeze was confronted with. Maybe they lost some great talent when they were forced to lay off a quarter of the workplace. Or maybe Starbreeze just became overzealous, enamored with the idea of pushing a premium currency and locking content behind a paywall. Lastly, somewhere along the way, the passion that was clearly put into Payday 2 could have just been lost. Whatever the reason, it is clear that, while there are several improvements to the gameplay and stealth aspects of Payday 3, it released and is still lacking many of the qualities and features that made Payday 2 so great. Well, there we have it. A complete look at how Payday 3 failed to live up to expectations set by Payday 2. If you like this video and want to see one similar to it, check out my previous video on Helldivers 2. Leave a comment on why you liked, didn't like, or are still playing Payday 3. As always, remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future videos. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.